Welcome, traveler. You've found Third Shift HFY. The story begins now.
The storms have never ceased. Even now, centuries after the fires went cold and the colony halls collapsed into dust, the gales still roar over the cliffside. They scream like grieving widows, hurling salt and stone into the black ocean below. I was born here, among ruins. I grew old listening to those winds, and I know why they howl. They are not storms alone, they are voices. His voice, hers, the two who scarred this world with love so fierce it rotted everything it touched. He was not born of us. No one ever agreed on what he truly was. Storm-blooded wanderer, human child of the void, or something in between. But when he first stood among our people, he carried the rawness of the tempest itself. His skin pale as bone, his eyes like fractured steel, his voice soaked in distances no one dared name. They called him cursed, I called him kin, and she called him hers. He was never meant to sit among us, never meant to dine beneath the chandeliers of our colony's high halls. Yet, she invited him in. She was the flame torn dark, hair falling in waves, eyes alight with fire, even when her lips trembled with sorrow. Born to wealth and expectation, she wore grace like a weapon and pride like a crown. And yet, when she looked at him, all of it fell away. They would meet in the broken glass gardens, where ivy had begun to devour the old terraced walls. She would laugh quietly, a sound that tried to make joy of a dying world, while he stood close, as if the storm had finally found a shelter. She loved him openly, though the world spat in their faces. He loved her silently, as though his voice might shatter the fragile thing between them. But whispers spread. Her family spat the word filth. My people muttered outsider. To them, he was not love, he was contagion. And she, defiant, drew closer still. The day of her union was the day the world broke. She stood in silks of ivory and gold, beside an officer of the fleet handsome, proper, chosen not for love but for legacy. Her gaze never wavered in public, though I saw her eyes search the shadows for him. And he was there. At the edges of the hall, a storm hidden among polished uniforms and jeweled gowns. He said nothing. He simply watched as she gave herself away, piece by piece, to a man she did not love. Her betrayal was not of the heart, but of the flesh and name, and it was enough to hollow him. He vanished that night. No one saw him leave, but the storms grew harsher, as if carrying his grief. Months passed, then years, and when he returned, he was no longer the outcast child of storms. He came cloaked in wealth, ships at his back, power coiled in his voice. His eyes had not softened, they had sharpened. He had carved himself into something the world could no longer dismiss. Love had been torn from him. In its place, obsession bloomed, and obsession, once fed, becomes a god of its own. When he returned, he carried wealth enough to buy respect, and power enough to command fear. He did not spend it on peace. He spent it on vengeance. One by one, he pulled the strings that bound her family. Their estates withered, their heirs fell into ruin. The officer she wed lost his command, humiliated, stripped bare before all. And through it all, the storm-born man smiled without warmth. He had been denied love. In its place, he taught himself cruelty and called it justice. Those who whispered against him vanished. Those who obeyed were broken slowly, until even obedience tasted like ash. Generations grew under his shadow. Children who never knew her name wept for debts he collected. Entire bloodlines staggered beneath the weight of his obsession. And yet, none of it filled the void in him. For when the winds howled at night, his voice could be heard in the storm, not shouting victory, but whispering her name. Always her name. Her death broke what remained of the world. The flame torn, She whose laughter once defied storms was carried to her grave beneath skies that would not clear. The colony mourned politely, with hymns and banners, but he raged. Not openly, not with blade or fire. His fury was quieter, more terrible. He tore the soil from her grave with his own hands, weeping until the earth itself seemed to quake. When they tried to pull him away, the storms answered him, winds lashing so fierce that mourners fled in terror. He had conquered fleets, humbled dynasties, and crushed generations. Yet death of one woman, reduced him to a child clawing at dirt. From that day on, her presence haunted him. He claimed he saw her in the shattered glass, heard her in the storm winds, felt her warmth in the coal stone holes. Some said grief had broken him. Others whispered she had not left him at all. But he did not move on. He could not. For him, love after death was no comfort. It was a chain that bound him to ruin. The colony did not fall in a single night. It withered under him, season by season, until even stone seemed to sag beneath his obsession. He no longer ruled through wealth or fear. He ruled through storms. Entire harvests drowned beneath his tempests. Towers crumbled, foundations eroded, oceans rose to swallow homes. Some whispered he summoned the fury. Others swore the storms were him. I was there when the last holes broke. He stood at the cliff's edge, rain soaking his robes, eyes fixed on the raging sea below. Ships had fled, families had scattered, but he remained, rooted like a monument to grief. He had once sought her hand. In the end, he held only ruins, and still he whispered her name, as if the storm would deliver her back to him. Lightning carved his silhouette against the sky. He did not look like a man. He looked like a wound given shape. Humanity's sorrow made flesh, howling until the heavens broke. And when he cried out, the cliff gave way. Stone shattered. The sea took him. The storm raged on. Centuries have passed since the cliffs crumbled. The colony is gone, its name lost from our maps, its banners buried in sand and salt. But the storms remain. They howl without rest, tearing across the ocean as if still seeking something they were denied. I have walked those ruins. I have felt the wind tear at my cloak and the salt sting my eyes. And in the howling, I heard them. Her voice, clear as the day she defied the world, calling his name. His, breaking like thunder, calling hers. Neither yielding, neither fading. Two voices bound forever, in a storm no death could silence. They became legend, not as lovers reunited, nor as victors crowned, but as ghosts of obsession love that scarred a world, grief that toppled a people. And so the storms remember, long after flesh turned to dust. And when I turned from the cliffside, I knew the truth. The storms were not curses, nor blessings. They were reminders. Love can scar worlds, revenge can haunt them.